Hi everybody, Courtney here. I'm in my hotel room about to go pick up my son, and I had a few minutes and I've been listening to the show How to Money, and there was a mention of a TED Talk on there about kind of the fallacy of self-care. And I wanted to address this because it is something that I think about so much. And first of all, let's define what self-care is. Self-care is taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being, especially during periods of stress. And so I have seen over the years, especially during the pandemic, it became incredibly I became incredibly aware of how to self-care frugally. And when I got divorced at the age of 40, I did not really feel like I knew what self-care was, because I had been kind of in that martyrdom, codependent relationship where everything was for my children, for my husband. And for me to be able to go and pay to do something like a massage or get my nails done was really, really expensive. And I had to build a new relationship with self-care. And I had to do that on an extreme budget. And then through the pandemic, even though I had the financial means, I could not go and do things. So we're going to talk a little bit today about self-care, what is the fallacy of self-care, and different ways to self-care on different budgets and what that could look like. So none of these are bad or wrong. There's just some are more expensive. And I want to give you examples of how to care for yourself in times when you may not have the financial means or the physical means to do so. And I say that because I went through a 2-year period of being very sick, and there were things I just couldn't expose myself to as well. So the fallacy of self-care is often you'll hear people say, I deserve it. I work hard. I work hard, so I deserve to have this $10 cup of sugary coffee. Or I work hard, I deserve to have my nails done for $85 every 2 weeks or once a month. But that is in lieu of doing things like paying off debt, buying a home or paying off your car, or doing things like having an emergency fund. Because what that does, here's the fallacy part, is that creates more stress later, because then we're stressed about our debts. Or if we lose our job, we have built up the expectation that we can have our nails done every other week, or we can have the fancy coffee. And most of the time, it's when people are doing this, it's not just one thing, it's many things. And it's often also having a lack of understanding between needs and wants. So let's say, for instance, you have a small trash can. I'm in my hotel room here. You have a small trash can and you need a big trash can, but you don't have any money and you don't have enough gas to get to work. But do you really need a big trash can, or can you just make it do for a while? You can make it do. You can make it work until you get the money for the trash can. You shouldn't be going out buying new shoes if you feel like you have to have a new trash can, right? Trash can isn't really a need. A trash bag might be a need, but you can make it work even if you had to get a box. So if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and share if you find value in it. So let's talk about the different types of self-care. There are 7 different types of self-care, and I've kind of lumped some of these together because they intertwine a little bit. The first one is mental. The second one is emotional. The third one is physical. The fourth one is environmental. The fifth one is spiritual. The sixth one is recreational. And the seventh one is social. So I have lumped in mental and emotional together. The first one, I would say, an expensive way to deal with your mental and emotional health would be to maybe hire an expensive therapist, go off to some kind of expensive therapy and have that done. Is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. But that may not be something that you can do financially. The second one would be to look at self-care groups. This is less expensive. Self-care, like support groups and things like that don't really cost much money. Maybe there's a small donation and you maybe need to buy some books, self-help books. Going to yoga classes or meditation, things like that can be pricey, but less pricey than like going off for a week to an expensive like therapeutic retreat. The next one, which would be almost cheap, is there are some support groups out there that don't cost anything. There's online groups that you can join, but be careful with those. There can be a lot of toxic negativity in those groups. Going to the library and getting books on self-care, learning everything you can, talking to a trusted friend or mentor, those can be really, really helpful. And I'm going to add, even though I have it in a different category, if you have a spiritual practice, practicing your spiritual practice can also be a way of dealing with your emotional or mental health. The next one is physical. So an expensive example of physical self-care might be going out for an expensive meal. Secondly would be, and I separate that from recreational. The second one, less expensive, would be making a healthy meal at home. And the third one would be doing a pantry meal at home, going through your pantry, your fridge, pulling out everything that you have that you already own, going online and putting those ingredients in and seeing what you can make for yourself. I've done that a lot, and some of the healthiest meals I make are when I'm pantry shopping. The next one would be environmental. So environmental, your environment might be the desire to go redo your house, paint a room, buy new furniture, put pictures on the wall, just completely remodel a space. There's nothing wrong with that, but it can be quite expensive. And if you don't have the money to do that, that can feel unreachable, and you might tell yourself, oh, well, I can't afford to do that. I don't want to, it's just not reachable for me. Well, what you could afford to do is rearrange your furniture, maybe go buy a nice candle or some flowers, open the blinds, clean your house. And then the next one would just be cheap. And that would be to clean your house, open the blinds. If you have some candles, get them out. Look online for ways to rearrange your furniture, shop your house, using things that you have, put things out that you love, bring in greenery. There is a lot of research done that bringing in pictures of nature can really help your mental and emotional health. Bringing in pine cones or greenery or a plant, opening and letting the sunlight in, creating a cozy nook in the corner for reading, maybe a cozy chair, by a window with a lamp that you can read, put some of your favorite books there, a coaster, a place to have a cup of tea, maybe a footstool. But denying yourself, I have a friend who doesn't really have a good place to watch TV except in her bed. And I just wish that she would make a cozy place in her living room with a TV and 2 chairs. And she doesn't have the money, she says, for new furniture. And I get that. But like sometimes we deny ourselves some things that are already available to us because we don't have exactly what we want. So instead of using what we have and making it work, we deny ourselves that simple pleasure. I hope that makes sense. I once heard a study when I was looking into a real estate investing group that the reason most people want to move is because they don't want to do the upkeep and maintenance and cleaning on their home. And if they would just clean their home and do the maintenance, that they would feel so much better, that their desire to move would be less. So the next one would be spiritual. You could go away to a spiritual retreat center. Those are often costly, up to thousands of dollars. You could just simply, for cheaper, go to church or go to a meeting. Like you could go to a church meeting, you could go to like a retreat center meeting. They often have those where there's expected donation. And then the next one would be to simply read or pray or listen to something on YouTube that is in your spiritual, practice. So the sixth one, I almost said seventh, sixth one is recreational. An example of this would be expensive sports hobbies, like golf is an expensive sports hobby. The second one would be finding something that's less expensive, like having a gym membership. Hiking even you are required to have hiking shoes or would need them for safe hiking. It's not necessary really, depending on what kind of hiking you're doing, you might need some gear. But hiking or going to a local YMCA, that would be far less expensive. And the nearly cheap or frugal or not expensive at all would be getting on YouTube and looking up. I do Lucy Wyndham Reed exercise videos for free, and she has all kinds of playlists, like for menopause, for belly fat, 4-minute workouts, 7-minute workouts, indoor walking workouts. So I do those for free a lot at home. The next one would be social. So I have a group of friends I went to school with, and they're always posting pictures of these big galas. And I'm not dissing any of that. That is their business. But honestly, for me, that would be just miserable. I would hate it. I definitely have the joy of missing out on that. But they're always in these big ball gowns. I see the tickets because often I will get an invitation. They're anywhere from $100 to $200 a ticket for a meal, and then they have a silent auction, and then you have to buy the dress and do your hair and blah, 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 blah. That's one way of being social. Around here, there is a racetrack. A lot of people go to the racetrack. I also live where there's a lot of lakes. A lot of people have boats and lake houses and things like that. Those are all very expensive social and recreational things that you can do. The less expensive would be just to go have a nice meal with a friend at an inexpensive restaurant, meet some friends for an inexpensive restaurant. That would be a more middle of the range thing to do. Go for like a gallery walk here. We have gallery walk on Monday nights where you just go to all the galleries. And then a least expensive thing to do would be a potluck, or having people over to your house for maybe a simple spaghetti dinner, or meeting people to take a hike, feeding people. Doing things like that would be a lot less expensive and cheaper to have a social interaction. The other day, I went to have lunch with my friend at her house, and she made us dinner, and we're both extremely frugal. So we exchanged things we already had in our house that we thought the other person would love. I had a little apron that I thought she would love or would want to sell in her flea market booth. I can't remember what else I had that I wanted to give her. Oh, some wine that someone gave me that I couldn't drink, and some drink mixes that I couldn't drink because I had to give up alcohol when I got sick. I chose to give up alcohol. And she gave me 2 flower pots that would match my farmhouse home that were her mother's. So it was so sweet, and I was so grateful, and a little sign that said "Live Simply" that she got at the flea market. So just remember, if you find yourself saying, I deserve it, I work hard, ask yourself, is there going to be a consequence to this later? Am I not going to pay off debt or have the financial freedom because I'm looking at self-care as something that has to be expensive? If you do have the money to do these things, and I will tell you what I do before I end this video is, so during the pandemic, I quit coloring my hair and let it go natural. It was a process. I had to put a darker color on it. My hair was a lot blonder. I was getting highlights. So I started putting a darker color on it and it would wash out. It was a semi-permanent. It took about a year, and eventually it was this is my natural color. And then I quit doing my nails except in the summer months, and I don't do them every month. I just do them before special occasions. So I started just cutting my nails, filing them, and same thing with my toenails. I will paint. I got online and figured out how to paint my toenails myself. Am I professional? No. Does it look good enough to get by? Yes. I quit I never had massages a lot because I had traded for so long when I was teaching school. But I go every quarter for a massage instead of every month. I do still get my house cleaned. That is one thing that I feel like I give up money for, and that's rather expensive, but it brings me great joy to have my whole house cleaned in one day. And this person cleans our Airbnb as well. And so that is something I do spend money on. When my husband is working a lot, we pay someone to mow our yard. Those things are expensive, but the value of what he can make is far more than what we pay for the yard work, and it buys us back our time. So we have to look at all different angles of self-care is my point. And sometimes it doesn't mean we have to give up those things that are more expensive, but maybe we just do less of them. Having an expensive coffee once a month or once a week is far less enjoyable, and we're going to enjoy it more if it's not something we're doing every day. All right, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.